like, and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment for more. Evil-emperors-wild-consort. Chapter 21 to 30. Chapter 21, The Stern Crown Prince 5. Ladies and gentlemen, Xian's weak smile carried warmth as she said with a gentle gaze, in order to test your ability, our Lianqi sect's elders have specially brought out our heavenly spirit spell formation. In a moment's time, I will send you into the heavenly spirit formation to train for a month. We will determine if you qualify to enter the Lianqi sect based on your results a month later. Even if they did not know what the heavenly spirit formation was, since it was a treasure passed down in the Lianqi sect, they deduced that it must be very valuable. They would definitely cherish this opportunity. The crown prince, who had not spoken up from start to finish, Leng Yangfeng, paused as he passed by Gu Ruian, and without turning to look at her, only that slow and solemn voice resounded. Gu Ruian, what you did just now was just to show off your individuality, to attract this crown prince's attention, but unfortunately, this crown prince's eyes were never on you. After saying so, he disappeared from Gu Ruian's sight without looking back. Gu Ruian was somewhat dumbfounded. When she was in the Dongyu mainland, even Jin Di was not qualified to make her kneel down, so why would she kneel before a little crown prince? But her behavior somehow let the crown prince think that she wanted to attract his attention. Back then, Gu Shengshao, as a genius, would often duel with Leng Yangfeng, and at every place they met they would be Gu Ruian. Everyone assumed that she was using Gu Shengshao to get close to Leng Yangfeng, but they did not know that every time the two pitted their skills against each other, she only ever paid attention to her older brother. So the previous Gu Ruian did not even like Leng Yangfeng, much less the current her. Gu Ruian, so you really liked the crown prince? Gu Panpan was enraged, fiercely staring at Gu Ruian. You denied liking the crown prince at that time, but now you're actually using such tricks to get his attention. Luckily the crown prince saw through your tricks, otherwise. Glancing at the gazes thrown at her by the crowd, Gu Ruian blinked innocently. What's a crown prince? Is it edible? Edible. You actually want to eat up the crown prince? Gu Ruian, as expected, you didn't hold any good intentions. Fine. This time, even speaking with 10 mouths would not be able to clear her innocence. Gu Ruian shook her head, lazy to explain anything more. She shrugged and said, Luo Yin, let's go inside and see. ... In the palace compound, everyone quieted down, any noise disappeared before the two elders. Luo Yin pointed towards one of them and said, Gu Ruian, do you see that old man in black? That's the crown prince's teacher Han Fei. The other old man in red is Elder Tian Lin, both of them are Lianqi sect's experts. Gu Ruian nodded, her line of sight moved from the two men and landed on the pillar next to them. If she guessed it right, the door the four pillars were surrounding was the entrance to the heavenly spirit formation. Ladies and gentlemen, with your current strength, I'm only letting you into the first level of the heavenly spirit formation. Remember, you should stay within the designated area. Please don't run around wildly, you might meet danger if you run to other areas. Han Fei looked at the crowd with a serious expression. In addition, the spiritual qi in the heavenly spirit formation is too dense, so your strength has to be at least qi level 3, otherwise you won't be able to withstand the tremendous power inside and explode. I'm not trying to scare you, but I believe that anyone who is below qi level 3 won't be able to pass. This. Hearing this, Gu Panpan looked like she had something to say, but was hesitating. Her demeanor attracted Elder Han Fei, of course, who furrowed his brows and asked, does this lady have anything to say? TL note, in case you don't remember, Jin Di was last mentioned in Chapter 8, where she compared his beauty to Xixie's. On a side note, Jin Di means Golden Emperor, but this is his name, he's not an emperor. You can check the glossary where the names of people and places will be updated so you can keep up with the story. Chapter 22, Who are you calling a good for nothing? 1. Elder Han Fei. Gu Panpan bit her lip and glanced at Gu Ruian, before turning her head towards Han Fei. I didn't really want to say it out, but all of Azure Dragon Country knows, our Gu family's Gu Ruian hasn't been able to advance since she reached Qi level 2 a few years ago. So I'm afraid that she won't be able to enter the heavenly spirit formation. Saying this, Gu Panpan had an expression full of regret, as if she really felt sympathy for Gu Ruian, and no one could see any other emotions from her face. Oh. Han Fei followed Gu Panpan's gaze and looked over, landing on Gu Ruian's relaxed face. So she's Gu Ruian. Gu Shengshao's little sister. I see that she's not that little anymore. How could she be just a qi level 2? With a genius like Gu Shengshao, how could his little sister be such a good for nothing? This is really quite an eye-opener. A few years ago, Gu Shengshao rejected his offer to be his disciple, to his everlasting humiliation. So, of course he would not have any courtesy left for Gu Ruian. Elder, all of Azure Dragon Country knows of this matter, so although I sympathize with her, she doesn't live up to expectations, so I don't have any way to help her. Gu Panpan had an expression of helplessness, holding the air of a mother hating her child for not living up to expectations. Gu Panpan, you. Luo Yin clenched her fists angrily, but just as she wanted to throw a punch, a hand reached out from the side and tightly held onto her hand. Gu Ruian smiled at the corner of her lips, her pretty and delicate face held an enigmatic expression. Gu Panpan, sorry to disappoint you, but I broke through to Qi level 3 last night. Her voice was indifferent, but it fell clearly on everyone's ears. Suddenly, Gu Panpan's expression froze, as if a hand had harshly slapped her across the face, leaving her wanting to find a hole to burrow into. At any other time, if Gu Ruian had broken through into Qi level 3, she could still have mocked her for a bit. However, she had clearly just said that Gu Ruian was only Qi level 2, unable to enter the heavenly spirit formation, so she was humiliated on the spot, and it was such a resounding slap on the face too. After taking a deep breath, Gu Panpan laughed dryly. Then I should really congratulate you. After waiting for so many years, you've finally broken through into Qi level 3. Only, who knows when you'll be able to break through again, but I believe that you'll reach Qi level 4 in 10 years at most. Rest assured, I'll surely advance again before you die. PFFT. Luo Yin wasn't able to resist and burst out into laughter. She patted Gu Ruian's shoulder as she laughed loudly. Ruian, do you mean that the moment you advance into level 4, she's going to die soon after? Then Gu Panpan had better be careful, and find someplace to hide after you break through, or she'll mysteriously expire. Tisk tisk, with such exquisite beauty, isn't it such a shame if you die? Gu Panpan's face went from green one moment to white the next. It was amazing. However, Gu Ruian started to admire her patience. She could still resist flying off the handle even after being humiliated by Luo Yin like this. Gu Ruian, watch your words. Old General Gu's expression sunk as he snapped. Also, Great General Luo, is this how you educate your daughter? It seems like she has no upbringing at all. Upbringing. Great General Luo snorted, I'm still better than you, an old man who almost beat his own granddaughter to death without seeking the truth first. Really, up till now, Great General Luo still couldn't understand. Gu Ruian was his Gu family's flesh and blood at the very least. This old man just outright beat her without asking, and he even beat her almost to death just for the sake of that kid from the Ling family. Was this even something a grandfather should be doing? Chapter 23, Who are you calling a good for nothing? 2. Enough. Just as old General Gu was about to speak up, an impatient shout interrupted all other voices. Hun Fei glanced at Gu Ruian, and said expressionlessly, since you have reached Qi level 3, then it's enough to enter the heavenly spirit formation, but this is the lowest qualification for entering the formation. Even the lowest area is dangerous for you, so you should look out for yourself. Qi level 3 was not even enough for a second look. He huffed and reckoned that this girl would lose her life. He really wondered how a genius at the level of Gu Shengshao could have such a useless sister. Thinking up to here, Hun Fei shook his head helplessly. After the heavenly spirit formation's door opened under the efforts of Hun Fei and Tian Lin, the younger generation all entered the formation. The next time the formation would open would be in a month's time, so after most of the crowd had entered the formation, the remaining people returned to their homes, waiting to enter the palace a month later. At this point, looking at the empty imperial compound, Hun Fei's expression held a tinge of deep thought. Not long ago, there was some strange weather in the imperial capital of Azure Dragon Country. The sect master observed the stars and determined that a strong person had come to this world, and that huge changes would soon occur in this mainland. If we manage to grab that strong person, our weapon refining sect will definitely rise to the top of all the other sects. Regrettably, our sect master was only able to observe that this strong person would arrive in some young talent's body, but was unable to determine who it was, otherwise we wouldn't need to bring out the heavenly spirit formation to test it. Tian Lin fell into silent thought. Only after a long while, he raised his head and said calmly, compared to that talent, I'm more concerned about something else. What is it? I don't know if you sensed it just now, but that girl called Gu Ruian has extremely poor talent, but she has a strong spiritual force. Much more powerful than the talents we've met before. Han Fei's heart shook, and said in astonishment, because of her relation to Gu Shengshao, I didn't notice this just now. You're saying that she has a strong spiritual force. Thinking of this, Han Fei's breathing tensed. If they could make her contribute her spiritual force, then they could cure Mrs. Body. Han Fei, if losing her spiritual force will cause her to become an idiot based on what I see of this Gu Ruian's personality, she may not agree. Tian Lin shook his head, saying so in a placid tone. Not necessarily, Han Fei sneered, she's just a good-for-nothing that everyone looks down on in Azure Dragon Country. If she's willing to give for our miss, then our weapon refining sect will definitely take care of her for the rest of her life. Moreover, contributing her own spiritual force for our miss is her good fortune. The future mainland war requires our weapon refining sect's participation, and our miss is the #1 genius in weapon refining sect. This matter concerns the safety of the whole mainland, and as an inhabitant of this mainland, contributing for the sake of the mainland is a given. So no one will reject this chance, just like the people before her. Saying so, it was as if letting Gu Ruian sacrifice herself for Xian was something that Gu Ruian should be thankful to the weapon refining sect for. Whereas if she disagreed, then she would become a criminal in the entire mainland, who should be condemned by all and torn into 10,000 pieces. Tian Lin smiled wryly and shook his head. I see that this girl's personality is stubborn, she doesn't seem easy to convince. Han Fei, since they will only appear again after a month, let's wait until a month later. Chapter 24, Who are you calling a good-for-nothing? 3. Between the valleys, in the lush forest, young Master Ling stood in the middle of the crowd, enjoying the feeling of respect from the people around him. Suddenly, he noticed Gu Ruian walking out from the back of the crowd, a touch of haughtiness in the smile on her delicate face. Gu Ruian, we'll see. Wait for the day of our duel, I'll make you kneel down and call me grandfather. ... The spiritual qi in the heavenly spirit formation was particularly abundant, several times the amount outside. If they cultivated here, together with the power of the qi gathering pill, Gu Ruian would be able to break through to qi level 4 in less than a month. Therefore, after entering the heavenly spirit formation, she first let Luo Yin go to another place to train, then found a cave for herself to start cultivating. At this time within the cave, Gu Ruian sat with her legs crossed. Light spiritual qi slowly condensed around her whole body, like threads of cotton being absorbed into the pores of her body, and from the pores, it accumulated into her spiritual ocean. Watching her vast spiritual ocean being filled bit by bit with spiritual qi, Gu Ruian's body and mind felt an unspeakable comfort. Time passed minute by minute, second by second. During this time, she hid in the cave and cultivated from start to end, so much that those who did not see her thought that she had already died underneath the claws of demonic beasts. Just as most people thought that she was already dead, within a cave not far from the entrance of the heavenly spirit formation, a looming wave spread out. Although the fluctuations were not that great, the people nearby could feel them clearly. Finally broke through to qi level 4. Gu Ruian opened her eyes and said, I wonder how much time has passed. Saying so, the voice within her soul unhurriedly spoke up, more than 20 days have passed. More than 20 days. Gu Ruian gave a slight start. I thought that it has already been more than a month, I didn't think that it was only 20 days. This was all thanks to the effect of the qi gathering pill, without it maybe even a month wouldn't have been enough for me to advance. Even at the start in East Peak Mainland, she spent 1.5 months to advance, and even so, she was already considered an absolute genius. Thinking of this, Gu Ruian's throat tightened. She had a feeling, her achievements in this world would not lose to that of the previous. Suddenly, Gu Ruian felt the strange fluctuations transmitted from within the cave, and a look of surprise flashed across her countenance. What a powerful aura. This is a spiritual weapon. But I didn't feel this aura at all when I first came in. Don't tell me that I accidentally touched something while I was cultivating. At that moment, her heart almost jumped out. This was a spiritual weapon, not an ordinary weapon. Spiritual weapons carried spiritual qi, and with high-level spiritual weapons, there would even be a sword spirit to help in battles. If two people with about the same strength dueled, one holding a normal weapon, one with a spiritual weapon, then the latter would definitely end up victorious. Most importantly, spiritual weapons could not be found just anywhere like cabbages. It could even be said that they were extremely rare. Even in her previous life, Gu Ruian was unable to get one. Who would have thought that after transferring to this world for just a few days, that she would find such a priceless treasure that anyone would kill to have? It is indeed the fluctuations of a spiritual weapon. Girl, go take a look, maybe you'll have an unexpected reward. Okay. Gu Ruian nodded slightly. What she did not understand was, didn't the weapon refining sect know that there was a spiritual weapon here? Otherwise, why didn't they take it for themselves? No. The weapon refining sect's main cause was to refine weapons. They definitely would not miss detecting this spiritual weapon. If so, why was this spiritual weapon left here for so long without being taken away? Chapter 25. Who are you calling a good for nothing? 4. However, the moment Gu Ruian saw the spiritual weapon, she finally understand why this spiritual weapon had been left for so long in weapon refining sect's heavenly spirit formation without being taken away. How should she put it? This sword was indeed a spiritual weapon, but unfortunately, this spiritual weapon had worn out long ago. Its surface was spotted with rust. Like an expert that had lost their spiritual power, it was no different than an ordinary person. Of course, that was for the average person. Who's Gu Ruian? A genius in East Peak Mainland, the owner of the ancient divine pagoda. To save this formerly majestic spiritual weapon was nothing at all. All she needed was time. 6. Coincidentally, I don't have a weapon at hand. Although this spiritual weapon has already lost its spiritual power, it's still stronger than an ordinary weapon. Furthermore, that strong spiritual chi I felt just now was most likely what she accidentally absorbed while I was cultivating. That's why it guided me here. There was a period of silence from within her soul. Only after a long moment did Zixi's voice ring in Gu Ruian's ears. Then take it first, we'll find a much higher grade one later. Although this one is also a spiritual weapon, it's of the lowest level, it doesn't match your status. The corner of Gu Ruian's mouth twitched, and she held her head helplessly. This guy thinks spiritual weapons are cabbages. A single low-level spiritual weapon is enough to attract many experts to fight over it, let alone a high-level spiritual weapon. Let's go, I'm almost done cultivating, it's time to leave. Outside the cave, many people were already gathered. After seeing Gu Ruian walk out from within the cave, there was first a patch of silence, before a mass of questions came from the crowd. Gu Ruian, what is a good-for-nothing like you doing here? I felt the strange fluctuations from the cave just now. Some treasure must have appeared. Bring out the treasure now, and maybe I'll spare your life. Gu Ruian's brows furrowed slightly. Following the sound of the words, she looked towards the young man dressed in blue standing in the crowd, and the corner of her lips curved up. Son of the Vice Minister of the Department of Revenue, the follower of the Ling family's young master, who did you call a good-for-nothing just now? The young man sneered. Who else could I be talking about? Isn't it you, the one that everyone knows is a good-for-nothing? Gu Ruian, if you're smart enough, then bring out that treasure, otherwise, this official's son will make you kneel down and kowtow. You're going to die here anyway, so your brother won't even know, ha. Ha. Before he could let out the last sound of laughter, everyone heard a bang. The young man's body transformed into a point of light. With a whoosh, he was thrown to the sky, before falling down harshly. The others felt their minds freeze. They turned their heads a bit, and their gazes landed on Gu Ruian's thin and weak body. She was nonchalantly swinging her arm, not even bothering to glance at the young man on the floor. His strength isn't that bad, this strike even made my hand hurt. You should know, although the young man was young Master Ling's follower, but his strength did not lose to young Master Ling's. He was also Chi level 5, and Gu Ruian, this good-for-nothing that just reached Chi level 3, could actually slap him to the point that he went flying. She could still say that his strength was not too bad, that it made her hand hurt. Was this woman complimenting him or insulting him? Oh yes, Gu Ruian's gaze turned, looking at the crowd of people while smiling. Who else called me a good-for-nothing? Do you dare to step out? Actually, the moment she contracted with the ancient divine pagoda, it had already cleansed her body and soul. Not only did her soul and abilities grow stronger, it also raised the level of all aspects of her body. Unless they broke through the chi levels and reached the martial artist ranks, none of them could be an even match for her. Looking at the current Gu Ruian, the crowd looked at each other, but no one dared to step forward from start to end. Chapter 26, The Cunning Ling Family Meets Danger, 1. No one dares. Gu Ruian's smile gradually cooled down, her clear eyes filled with an awe-inspiring domineering spirit. Then from now on, all of you had better remember. If anyone says that I'm a good-for-nothing, then I don't mind teaching you with my power. I, Gu Ruian, am Gu Tian's daughter, Gu Shengshao's sister. With both of them being peerless geniuses, I won't let them be disgraced. Even if Gu Ruian did not care about her own reputation, she had people that she cared about. In her past life, she would have been better off without her father, and was unable to protect her beloved little brother. Since she was able to live again in another life, then she would live for Gu Ruian and protect her loved ones, as well as take revenge for her father. She will not allow anyone to insult them. Not too far away, a slight breeze drifted past. A man dressed in bright yellow stood in the midst of a grassy plain. No one noticed him, although his clothes were eye-catching. Leng Yangfeng stared at Gu Ruian. An unreadable look flashed across his solemn face, and soon disappeared. Gu Ruian, so this is how you want to attract my attention. Unfortunately, no matter how much you try, you won't be able to attract this crown prince. This crown prince will never be able to accept you. He originally wanted to take a look at the situation in the heavenly spirit formation, and never expected to happen upon this scene. Leng Yangfeng did not believe that Gu Ruian had not noticed him, standing directly across from her. She must have said those words because she noticed him. The reason? Because he once said, only the strong are qualified to stand by his side. Unfortunately, this time it was really Leng Yangfeng thinking too highly of himself. Although Gu Ruian did detect his presence, she could not even be bothered to give him a second glance. You idiots, you don't even dare to deal with a good-for-nothing. At this time, an arrogant voice broke the silence. Like a stone landing in water, it created a burst of waves. Leading a group of people, Ling Shi came up from behind the crowd, sneering as he looked at Gu Ruian. I sensed the waves from this area and suspected that a treasure must have appeared, so I came to investigate. Who knew that I would hear such words? There are so many of you, and you're actually scared of this good-for-nothing. So what if I insult Gu Shengshao? Having such a useless sister is practically a living disgrace for him. As for that short-lived father of yours, if he was still alive, looking at a waste of space like you, he would probably want to take his own life. Gu Ruian, tell me, what use is it for you to live? You're only shaming your father and brother. Even after dying, your father has to live with this shame. How refreshing. Every time he bullied this good-for-nothing, it just felt that good. However, young Master Ling was blinded by his own emotions, and seemed not to notice Gu Ruian's slowly narrowing eyes. Young Master, be careful, this woman just defeated the Department of Revenue's Assistant Minister's son, Lin Shi. The people around him were worried that young Master Ling would lose, and warned him. What? Ling Shi was stunned for a moment, before continuing with loud laughter. Lin Shi is at least a Qi level 5, this good-for-nothing managed to defeat him. Don't talk about me, you won't be able to find a single person in the entire Azure Dragon country who could believe this. If you're going to lie, make it more believable. Just as he finished saying this, Ling Shi abruptly noticed Lin Shi lying down on the floor, and the smile on his face froze. He really just came too late, and didn't get to see what happened before, otherwise he would not have jumped unprepared into such humiliation. But now what did he see? Lin Shi, as a Qi level 5, was actually quietly lying down on the floor, as if dead. Chapter 27, The Cunning Ling Family Meets Danger 2. Looking at Gu Ruian's faintly smiling face, Ling Shi bitterly swallowed a mouthful of spit. In the end, he still spoke up. Gu Ruian, who would have expected that you hid so deeply? I still don't understand, why didn't you fight back against me if you had this ability at the start? However, aren't you thinking too highly of yourself? We have so many people here, and you're all alone. If all of us here attack together, did you think you could still fight back against us? I can give you a chance now, hand out the treasure, and maybe I'll even let you die quickly. That's right, this woman is just one person. With so many of them, they were still afraid of her. Has she never heard of the phrase, hopelessly outnumbered? A treasure, you mean this? Gu Ruian's gaze swept through everyone in the crowd. With a swoosh, a sword appeared in her hands, the point of its rusty blade pointed at Ling Shi. Ling Shi froze for a moment before raging. Gu Ruian, are you mocking our intelligence? You actually dare to call such a broken blade a treasure? Are you treating this young master as a 3-year-old? Exactly, it's just a broken blade, no one will take it even if you give it away. Gu Ruian, bring out the treasure, for the sake of your brother Gu Shengshao, we'll leave you a whole corpse. Oh. Facing the pressing shouts of the crowd, Gu Ruian unhurriedly kept the sword. Did you think that you're very smart? From what I see, your intelligence is only that much. I've already offered you the treasure, but you didn't want it. It's not that I don't want to give it to you. At this moment, within the forest, Leng Yanfeng's eyes were focused on the calm Gu Ruian standing in the crowd. His handsome face carried an unreadable trace of emotion as he mumbled to himself, Gu Ruian, so it wasn't that you weren't purposely showing off in front of me, but it was everyone who underestimated you. She actually found the weapon refining sect's spiritual weapon. It also showed that her spiritual force far exceeded that of normal people. Leng Yangfeng remained silent for a long while, before casting a last look at Gu Ruian and disappearing within the forest. Gu Ruian, if you're not going to see sense, then we can only let you die. Cold light flashed across Ling Zai's eyes. He coldly chuckled, if killing you means finding the treasure, then this cheap life of yours had some value. Swoosh. As his words fell, he quickly flashed towards Gu Ruian. Everyone else looked at each other, before rushing towards that skinny figure in the center from all directions. If they killed her, the treasure would be theirs. Thinking up to here, everyone's expressions unconsciously changed greed and desire. But, within the light wind, the girl raised her delicate face, like a breeze, her voice fell into their ears, passing as slowly as a century. This is your speed. It's too slow. Sorry, I'm not interested in this schoolyard fight. Almost at the same time, that heavy fist landed on their bodies, and they couldn't help but to retreat. No way. Ling Zai's eyes suddenly widened. Although he could see Gu Ruian's body just right in front of him, he could only watch with eyes wide open. This woman, how could she be this strong? How much did she hide in these past years? Bang! Regardless of how unwilling he was, Ling Zai's body fell heavily, and at the moment he landed, he seemed to have thought of something, and roared angrily. Chapter 28, The Cunning Ling Family Meets Danger 3. Gu Ruian, did you do it on purpose? Did you deliberately allow me to bully and suppress you? Then you threw a challenge at me so that you could reverse everything and win. And then crush me with your strength. What kind of grudge and hatred do we have between us that it was worth spending so many years painstakingly hiding just so that you could humiliate me? Obviously, Ling Shi was overthinking it. He thought that Gu Ruian had hidden her strength just to find a chance to humiliate him thoroughly. Of course, Gu Ruian had always been lazy to explain anything to insignificant people, so her silence looked like agreement to Ling Shi. Ah, Gu Ruian, I want to kill you. Ling Shi roared in anger and climbed up from the ground. He raised his arms at that moment, a golden rune appeared in his hands, the rune exuded a faint light setting off the grim expression on his face. This is the Ling family's only rune. The Ling family spent a lot of money to buy this from an expert for the sake of transporting my grandfather to me when I meet any danger. So, Gu Ruian, this time, you're dead. As his words fell, Ling Shi ripped the rune apart. A golden light flashed, and immediately, in front of everyone, Ling Yi appeared out of nowhere. After seeing his grandfather appear, Ling Shi let out a sigh of relief, before hurriedly complaining. Grandfather, quickly save your grandson. If I hadn't brought along the teleportation rune that grandfather gave me, then I probably wouldn't have been able to see grandfather ever again. Oh, Ling Yi's expression sunk bit by bit and darkened. He asked, who was so bold to dare to harm the blood of my Ling family? Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In a moment, everyone's gazes turned towards Gu Ruian. Following their eyes, Ling Yi found the girl who had not moved from start to end. The Gu family's girl. He frowned. This Gu family's girl is only a Qi level 3, don't tell me that you can't even beat her. It's not like that, grandfather, the Gu family concealed her strength. With one strike, she defeated all of us here. Her strength is definitely not just Qi level 3, it should be at level 6 or 7, and, Ling, she hesitated, before sneering, she wants to kill me, not just because she has a grudge against me, but she even wants to end our Ling family's bloodline. Grandfather, you definitely can't let such a crafty and vicious person live. Boom. Wild anger burst out from Ling Yi's body, and his eyes watched Gu Ruian coldly. Girl, having such a vicious heart at such a young age, leaving you alive would just end up hurting others. For the sake of saving the innocent, then, this old man can only kill you first and avoid disaster later on. The overcast aura was not only limited to his surroundings, the people around started to feel that the air had become thin, that there was an external pressure pushing on them. Gu Ruian's heart sank. At her current strength, she had no way to battle with Ling Yi. The only plan she had left was to escape. Haha. Thinking of this, Gu Ruian laughed twice. That smile spread from the corners of her lips, carrying a trace of mockery. So this is the Ling family. When the little ones can't win their battles, the elders come up. This has really been eye-opening for me. Ling Yi, I Gu Ruian, will remember today's debt. There'll eventually be a day when I come to collect it from your Ling family. At this moment, the girl's thin face showed off a wildly domineering aura. That regal air, even the current emperor didn't have such an aura. Watching in a trance, Ling Yi seemed like he was seeing a long-absent and familiar face on her. That absolute genius of 10 years ago, Gu Tian. That startlingly brilliant person, the mainland's youngest martial emperor, the current Gu Ruian looked so much like him. No, no way, he absolutely could not let this woman continue living, it was too dangerous. TL note, martial emperor is 5 ranks above the chi collection levels. You can check the glossary for cultivation ranks and names. Chapter 29, a handsome man said, wife. 1. Gu Ruian. No matter what you say today, I won't let anyone who bullies my Ling family live. Ling Yi's aura slowly rose up as he said coldly, so, you must die here today. Gu Ruian sneered, if you don't manage to kill me, I hope you don't regret. Having said so, without a second look at the Ling family grandfather and grandson pair, she turned and bolted towards the mountain peak not too far away. You're trying to escape. HMPH, I'll see if you can. Ling Yi narrowed his eyes and chased after her without another word. Seeing the distance between them decreasing, Gu Ruian started to panic inside. She would definitely die if Ling Yi caught up. Before going back to East Peak mainland and getting her revenge, she absolutely could not die. Thinking up to here, without knowing where the power came from, she accelerated in a burst of speed as she put all her effort into escaping. Sweat dripped down her delicate face, her clothes stuck tightly to her body, making her feel as if she had just showered. However, gradually, Gu Ruian felt the first stirrings of fatigue from her heart. No, she absolutely could not die here. Girl, let me take care of that old fellow for you. Zixi frowned, a cold light flashing across his devilishly handsome face. No, Gu Ruian shook her head, we're inside the weapon refining sect's formation. If you appear now, you might attract the attention of the weapon refining sect. I'm just a chick without any feathers right now, I don't want to get involved with those forces. This was her main concern. Zixi was her last resort, and was the only effective weapon she had for her revenge. Unless she was really forced to, she would not allow Zixi to appear in any situation. Seeing that Ling Yi was about to catch up, cold sweat dotted Gu Ruian's forehead. Suddenly, the cliff ahead appeared within her sight, and she hurriedly braked. Seeing the rocks tumble off the cliff edge, her heart was on a precipice in an instant. Stupid girl, this time we'll see where you can run to. A little chi level 4 making this old man run for so long, if this were to get out then this old man won't be able to raise his head in Azure Dragon country anymore. Fortunately, you'll soon die in this old man's hands, ha ha ha. That's right, this girl was only a chi level 4, but she was able to defeat his grandson. This was something he could not believe no matter what, since there was usually a huge gap in power between levels. Die. Gu Ruian laughed, I'm afraid you don't have the ability to kill me. Once her words had fallen, she turned without pause and jumped off the cliff, without a single trace of hesitation. That's bad. Ling Yi's expression changed slightly, and he quickly approached the cliff to check the situation. However, there was so much fog, how could there be any trace of Gu Ruian? With such a steep cliff, I wager that she'll end up in pieces. At her current strength, she can't possibly survive this, but just in case, I should still check for her corpse. I can't leave her any chance of survival. ... Drip, drip, drip. The clear sound of water dripping fell into Gu Ruian's ears. She frowned slightly, and slowly opened her eyes. In that moment, a handsome face was magnified before her. Their heads were extremely close together, and if the other just slightly bent his head, he would be able to kiss her lips. Bang! Gu Ruian recovered her senses, and pushed Zixi away in one move, saying somewhat angrily, what are you trying to do? Chapter 30, a handsome man said, wife. 2. Girl, you're so heartless. I hugged you for so long, but you pushed me away so ruthlessly the moment you woke up. Zixi acted like he had been wronged, as if he had been bullied. Zixi. Gu Ruian was startled, why did you come out? Didn't I say? Don't worry. There's a force here that can block my aura, so no one outside will sense me. But you've really got some guts there. Directly jumping off the cliff, aren't you afraid of falling to your death? I'm extremely scared of dying, so I won't gamble with my life. Gu Ruian smiled, I heard running water from up on the cliff, so I guessed that this cliff wasn't that steep. At the very least I wouldn't fall to my death. That's right, what's up with the force that you mentioned? Zixi quieted down, and after a long while, he raised his gaze and looked at Gu Ruian, his handsome face carrying an imposing expression. The heavenly spirit formation is not one of the weapon refining sect's formations. It comes from the East Peak mainland, and it was created by a strong person. I'm not very clear on the specifics, but I feel a very strong force inside here. A strong force. Gu Ruian frowned, a strange light flashing across her eyes. Zixi, I want to investigate what this mysterious cave holds within. Zixi looked hesitant, and after wavering for a bit, he said, Girl, you know that my power has been sealed. Just now, I felt that my first seal loosened a bit, so I have to immediately shut myself in and cultivate to break through the seal, so. Don't worry, it'll be fine even if I'm alone. Okay, Zixi nodded. If you meet any danger, call me immediately, I'll awaken to help you. Gu Ruian did not speak, she understood how important this closed-door cultivation was to him. She would only call him if she really had to. Within the cave, the sound of flowing water was exceptionally clear. The rushing sound struck Gu Ruian's heart, making her cautious. Her footsteps were extremely slow, as if scared of disturbing anything. At the start, Gu Ruian did not feel that mysterious force that Zixi had mentioned, but as she walked deeper within, that force began to appear within range of her senses. It became more and more intense, to the point that it was hard to breathe. But the strange thing was, there wasn't even the tiniest bit of danger on the way here. No, she felt that she was surrounded by a strange atmosphere. However, those unknown creatures did not attack her. Even Gu Ruian was constantly wondering, not understanding what was happening. As she walked until she lost track of time, a stone door appeared before her. Yes, it's within this door, that mysterious force is coming from within this door. Gu Ruian took a deep breath, and slowly placed her hand on top of the stone door. As if prepared in advance, just as her hand touched the door, the stone door opened by itself. At that moment, her breath stopped. She had never seen such a stunning view before. Within the stone room, a man laid on a bed. His head of extremely dazzling long silver hair covered the floor, his body was covered in a blood-red robe. In extreme contrast, in between the man's brows, that flame mark was like a blooming bright rose, mesmerizing hearts and souls. Gu Ruian had never seen such an absolutely beautiful man before. Even the number one beauty in the world would not be able to compare to even a tenth of his beauty. Just a single look would be enough to make hearts beat crazily. While she was trying to recover from being stunned, the man slowly opened his eyes. Confusion, uncertainty, all these appeared within those red pupils in an instant. His gaze slowly swept the stone room, and finally landed on Gu Ruian. Without knowing why, Gu Ruian's heart had the feeling that this man was extremely dangerous. Dangerous enough to destroy the world. However, in the next moment, a word from the other had her completely rooted to the spot, even forgetting how to react. Wife. Wife. Like a bolt from the sky, Gu Ruian stared dumbfounded at the man's devastatingly handsome face. This man had called her wife the moment he had opened his eyes. Who are you? Why are you here? The man frowned, then shook his head. I don't know. You don't know. I don't remember anything. Looking at the way the man was trying to recall his identity, Gu Ruian stroked her chin. It looks like this fellow had really lost his memory, and had already forgotten everything. ... At this moment, in some place that Gu Ruian could not sense from within the heavenly spirit formation. In some mountains on the mainland, a roar rang through the skies, echoing for a long time, as the spiritual beasts of the entire mountain range collectively knelt down and bowed towards a certain direction. Our king has awoken, everyone must greet him. All must kneel in welcome, our king has returned. Like, and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment for more.